Amen to that. Well, it's such a pleasure to be here with you. I don't know where our Madam President went, but I definitely want to thank the President for opening the doors of her institution, and to be here at an institution for higher learning means so much. And as Dr. Reed talked about, College for All is a beautiful thing. And I just really, for me, just even separating myself from the fact that I absolutely support Senator Sanders, just to think about that notion that in this country we can change the way we think and dedicate resources to every child in this country so that when they are birthed into this world, that they know that they can go to college if they want to, and they don't have to have a degree in one hand and debt in another. That means something to me. So, College for All, we can do it. I often ponder and say we cannot go from yes we can to no we can't. And it's just something about having President Obama run on that yes we can, and then have a candidate on the other end of that spectrum as a Democrat say no that we can't. It just messes with my mind. So I just want to go personal this afternoon if I can. I'm working on about 3 hours of good sleep. It's been a long journey. I was with Senator Sanders in Milwaukee in the spin room with Representative Baumberg, who did a fantastic job. I am so proud of Representative Baumberg for filling the burn, I'm filling the burn. He is representing South Carolina so masterfully. You would be so proud of him. But it takes a lot of courage to go against the status quo. It really does. Everybody should be on the side with everybody else. But I believe that you have to stand up for what is right, even if you are standing alone. But he's not alone. So this, supporting Senator Sanders is personal. When Dr. Reed was talking about the College for All Act, I started having a flashback, and that's kind of where I want to start with you this afternoon, is just to tell you a little bit about my life story. And I know that Dr. Reed and I will take some questions. But there is a song in the African American spiritual tradition that asks the question, how I got over. My soul looks back and wonders how I got over. And I am the oldest of 7 children. And I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've ever had a defining moment in your life. I had a defining moment in my life. I've had many defining moments in my life, but I've never had a moment quite as defining as the one that I'm going to share with you, that as a sophomore at a community college, Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland, oldest of 7 children, first generation college graduate, but you got to start from somewhere. There was nobody in my family that could help walk me through the process of going to college. I got a note on the refrigerator door one day when I got home from school. My husband and I told us to go to the hospital because my mother was there. In the dark ages, there was no text, Doc. Just good old-fashioned, put the note on the refrigerator door. And little did I know that day was going to change my life for the rest of my life. As my husband and I got to the hospital, we were escorted to a room called the family room. And all of my siblings were already there. They were crying. I have a brother who is 6 feet 5 inches tall. I hadn't seen him cry since he was a little boy. If you guys don't mind, I like to be closer to the people, so I'm going to come on down. And, to see all of my siblings there and in tears, it just moved me. And as the oldest child, oldest of 7, I was 22 years old at the time, I was trying to keep my cool, stay cool, calm, and collected for my siblings. I was not prepared for the doctor to tell us that our mother was in a coma. I asked the doctor, could I go to the room where my mother was? And as I looked at her, I saw that her eyes were rolled to the back of her head and her tongue was hanging out of the left side of her mouth. I analyzed her clothing and noticed that the paramedics had cut her clothing from her body. I could no longer be cool, calm, and collected as the tears started to stream down my face. About a week or so later, the doctor told me that my mother was not coming out of the coma, and that the machine that was by her bed is the only thing that was keeping her alive. And that as the eldest child, I had to make a decision about when to pull the plug. All kinds of flashbacks about my mother who got married very young to my father and didn't work out. Flashback about a mother who tried to do everything that she could for her children. I flashed back to a person who had been beaten down by society because she didn't live that perfect life. But she tried to do everything that she could for her children. My mother was 42 years old when she died. Wow. I was 22, my baby sister was 12. And my mother died with her dreams deferred. Those of you who understand poetry and the Langston Hughes asked a very important question: what happens to a dream deferred? She died on the system of welfare. She didn't have a life insurance policy, and she had no money in the bank. I'm 22, I'm married, my baby sister is 12, and I'm a sophomore at a community college, trying to become a cycle breaker. I got down on my knees, and I said, Lord, if you have mercy on my soul, and send some folks my way who can help me navigate the future, I will become a cycle breaker for my mother's memory. So every degree that I took, when I graduated from Cuyahoga Community College, I took that degree in my mother's name. And when I matriculated to a 4-year public institution, I took that degree in my mother's name, those 2 extra degrees that I received. When I took the oath of office, becoming a Cleveland City Councilwoman, I took that oath in her name. When I became a state senator, I took that oath in her name. When I ran for statewide office in the great state of Ohio to protect access to the ballot box, I ran that race in her name. So you may say, Senator Turner, what are you saying? I am saying that it is an absolutely beautiful, magnificent thing to have someone like Senator Bernie Sanders, who is unashamed and unafraid to take it to the status quo and to stand up for poor people and barely middle-class people for once in this country in a very long time. That's what I'm saying. And I believe that if my mother were alive today, and sisters and brothers, I would give back every fancy title that I have, every fancy degree, if she could be in this auditorium today listening to her daughter say these words. I believe that she would support Senator Sanders. A $15 an hour minimum wage. When Senator Sanders says that people who work 40 hours a week should not be poor, they should have a living wage. These holidays for all. Universal health care as a right. My God. Our nurses say, yeah. Listen to the nurses on that. I'm telling you, ain't nobody bring it like the nurses. I'm so glad to have the nurses on my side. Everybody need a good nurse in their life. I don't know if you've ever been to the hospital, but you need a good nurse in your life. But I do thank the nurses for standing up for Senator Sanders. And, you know, it's just really bothering me, Dr. Reed, how nasty this thing has gotten. Now, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about this. Now, it's one thing to disagree with somebody. And the family going to fight, right? Because both Senator Sanders and the Secretary, they fight. They want the nomination. I get it. They're not playing tiddlywinks. This is real. But my God, how low will you go?
That's right.
Low blow.
How low will you go? And I can't even imagine how Senator Sanders was feeling as he had to walk out on that stage last night, which he did the daggone thing, but I'm going to put a pin in that. But he had to walk out on that stage knowing that people even that he served with in Congress, all of a sudden, he ain't all that no more. A man that has voted over 97, 98% of the time with Democrats, all of a sudden, he not all that anymore. A man who has stood up for women's rights and the working poor in this country, starting off as a college student, standing up for what is right, all of a sudden, don't nobody know nothing no more. How low can you go? And I know what that feels like to have people throw even more than the kitchen sink at you. But for all of that to come down on him, let the record reflect that Senator Sanders was part of CORE. Let the record reflect that as a college student, like some of the college students in this room today, he stood up when he didn't have to stand up against segregation and discrimination. He didn't have to do it. And I only know one, I'm a spiritual woman, so I only know one person or one spirit that is omniscient. I'm getting tongue-tied. But omnipresent. Omni. There ain't none of us in this room or any other room. So, has done a plethora of things throughout his life, even when he was not elected. Standing up for what is right. He was progressive before progressive was cool. That's right. You know, the world is just catching up with him. You know, he's standing up for our gay and lesbian and transgender brothers and sisters. As a mayor of Burlington, he transformed that city. As a congressman, standing up for what is right. And he has not changed. His core values have not changed. He doesn't flip the script based on what polls say. He just does what is right. So to have that thunder come down just to impugn his integrity, that's what got to me. Not that folks, look, because I'm going to fight for my candidate just like the other side is going to do. But how low can you go? Thank you. To come out and to talk about how just because he wants universal health care for all folks in the United States of America as a right, he said it's a moral imperative. Then to say that he wants to rip up the Affordable Care Act, he wants to tear down the CHIP program, all lies. I'm going to say what the senator can't say, all lies. How low can you go? So I'm just asking everybody in this room just to check the record and make a decision. I hope that you're convicted by your heart in the same way that I have been convicted. When I juxtaposition my life story against what Senator Sanders is standing for and fighting for, there was no other choice but to support him. And I am proud. And it's not that he's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But he is a warrior for the people. When Dr. Martin Luther King said it, in this country, we got socialism for the wealthy, but rugged individualism for the poor. Yes. See, everybody want to talk about how Dr. King fought against discrimination and racism, and oh my God, he did, and ushering in the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act in reverse order. But before he died, or was killed rather, he marched in Memphis with garbage workers, sanitation workers. He talked about the poor people's movement in this country. He talked about being a social democrat. And we shouldn't be afraid of that. Because all that means is that we're going to have government work for the people. It's not about a total transfer. It's not the theory of taking everything and government controls everything. That's not what it is. All Senator Sanders is saying that it is about time that this government works for all the people and not just a handful of millionaires and billionaires. This is huge. I'm just feeling all types of ways. I was really heavy yesterday to see all of that happen to the senator. He had to go out there on that stage, but he did his thing. Wait, I got one closing before the closing, because when you're a preacher and a politician, you get a couple closings. And if you've been to a black church, you know what I'm talking about. Let me just say this. I do applaud the senator, and another lie that's being told out there, Dr. Reed, is that a senator doesn't like the president. That burns every part of my body. No pun intended, because I am feeling the burn. But, I don't know how many of you are married, or you got a significant other, or even your family. Don't nobody agree 100% of the time. That's right. It was something that says that if two people always agree, one is not needed. Right? You don't need that other person. And I can tell you by being a state senator that when you're in a body, it is your job to really scrutinize and push. It wasn't my job to agree with the governor all the time. It wasn't my job to go into my Democratic caucus and agree with all of my colleagues just because I'm a Democrat. That's not my job. My job is to stand up for the people who elected me. That's right. To care more about the next generation than I cared about my next election, which is why I took the risk to run for Secretary of State. Senator Sanders didn't have to be in this race, but thank God that he is in this race, because as Dr. Reed said, now we got a choice. We have a choice. So yes, he did disagree with the president from time to time. Heaven, I disagree with the president from time to time, but I support him. I was there for him in 2008. I was there for him in 2012. President Obama's not running again. And so to the extent I got to listen to the Republicans malign him, and then on the Democratic side, hear another member of the Democratic Party
try to pit the president who's not running again against another Democrat, it just bothers me. Yes, the senator disagreed with the president. Newsflash, a lot of folks in this country disagree with the president, but that does not mean we do not support him. I support President Barack Obama. He has done a lot of great things in the face of so much adversity. He's probably been one of the most obstructed presidents in the United States, in our history of this country. He brought the thunder and the rain. But it is okay for somebody to say, I want to take it to the next level. It is okay for somebody to say, I got a different idea about how to do things. If you don't think that you can do things differently or better, then why the heck you running for office? That's what this is about. So this message to me, because Senator Sanders is such a good man. Like I said, good man, not perfect, but he is a good man. He's been a noble public servant. So there's just some places that we should not go. He's never run a negative campaign in all of his life. And that is a beautiful thing. But no matter which side of this you are on, I would hope that we could agree that there's a certain place that people who are in the same family shouldn't go, even if we're fighting against one another. And to me, to pit the president against Senator Sanders is really a message to the African American community. I'm just going to break that on down. Because just hoping that the African American community is just that superficial. That somebody can say, oh, he doesn't like the black president, so now all of a sudden African Americans are not going to look at him openly and make a decision about what type of America we want to live in. That is wrong. It's wrong. So, okay, my three things, because I know we got to get the question answered. I just had to get that off my chest, because that just bothers me so much. It still bothers me. How low can we go? Okay, number one, I believe that the creator of this great universe has given us two hands, one to reach forward and one to reach back, lifting as we climb. We are our sisters and our brothers' keepers. My God, the Flint water crisis is our crisis right here in Columbia. If our sisters and brothers we don't have either. We are all connected. Just to hear what was going on in Flint made me appreciate even more when I go and turn on the faucet and the water is clear. It makes you say amen. But we got to do something about that infrastructure problem in this country. And Senator Sanders has a plan to rebuild our infrastructure in this country. So we are our sisters and our brothers' keepers. Number two, and most important, we can't ask other folks to do more for us than we are willing to do for ourselves. Now, Brother Frederick Douglass put it this way. He said, you might not get everything that you work for, but you will work for everything that you get. We know about that. And lastly, in the words of my grandmother. Now, sisters and brothers, my grandmother was hailed from the South. Couldn't read or write because she was born in 1913. But to my sisters in the room, she could count her money. She kept her money in the Southern Ladies Bank and Trust with a handkerchief. Some of my Southern women know where that bank account is located. When I asked my grandmother, what does it take to be successful in life, she said, my dear granddaughter, all you need are the three bones: the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying because hope is the motivator, but the dream is the driver. The reason why we do what we do each and every day is because we hope and believe that tomorrow will be better than today. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth to power. But she said the most important bone of them all, the superfragilistic expialidocious bone, is the backbone. Because the backbone will keep us standing through all of our trials and our tribulations. And in this life, folks, we're going to go through some stuff, but we can't have a testimony without a test. And we are being tested in 2016 about whether we have courage enough, faith enough, determination enough, drive enough to force America to be what she ought to be. In the words of Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, what the people want is simple. They want an America as good as its promise. And that really is the foundational point of what Senator Bernie Sanders is fighting for. He is fighting for an America that is as good as its promise. So when he talks about college for all, in the 21st century, that's not a radical idea. Senator Sanders said on the stage yesterday that we have to go from K through 12 to K, really pre-K, to college if we want our young people to be able to compete. Like the young folks in this room today who are not competing. South Carolina's children are not competing against North Carolina's children or Ohio's children or Illinois's children. You are competing with other folks' children from all over the world. In order for us to keep our competitive edge as a country, we got to make sure that we educate our folks. What is wrong with investing that kind of money in human capital for somebody to say that it can't be done? It won't be done. What's wrong with that? And then from a moral perspective, the whole notion of universal health care for all, still yet, even with the brilliance and the push of the Affordable Care Act, and I know it took everything, the president put all his political capital in those first 2 years on the Affordable Care Act. He did that thing, but we've been fighting for that. Truman fought for that, ain't that right, Professor? I mean, we just started, it's generation after generation building up to this. So why is it not okay that we take what the president did and take it a one step further? What is wrong with that? And for somebody to say that we can't do that, we're not going to fight that fight again. If the health care of Americans in this country is not worth the fight, I don't know what is. It is a moral imperative. So 29 million still of our sisters and brothers do not have health care, and even more are underinsured. What is wrong with continuing to fight to go to higher heights? My God, if we can go to the moon, why can't we have universal health care? Why can't we do that? We can do that. So don't let nobody tell you that we can't. Now, is it going to be a fight? Absolutely. But can I just tell you a secret that nobody will tell you? Unless we change that Congress, it really doesn't matter. Hello, somebody. It don't matter. We got to change that Congress. And somebody tell you a plan across, but they can. If that Congress doesn't change, Democrats won't be able to. Which is why Senator Sanders talks about the political revolution. That it really is about you and you and you and you and us together. And when you hear him talk, he didn't say when I get to the White House.
That's right.
He said when we get to the White House.
You tell us, sister.
When we get there. So again, channeling the spirit of Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, what the people want is simple. They want an America as good as its promise. White and black and brown, Native American, Jew, Gentile, agnostic, atheist, gay, lesbian, transgender, all of the mosaic of humanity working together to make this country a better place. That is what we do generation after generation. It is in our DNA as a country. We are a country of progress. It just pains me to have anybody stand up and say that we can't make more progress. If it's all done, I'm trying to understand why you're running. But I'm just going to put that right there. So, it's such a pleasure to be with you, South Carolina. We're going to open this thing up for questions. I am feeling the burn. Thank you so much, Senator.